Hi, this is Tamara from mooglyblog.com, and in this video, I'm going to be demonstrating how to crochet the Multi-Pocket Crochet Tote Organizer, which is a free pattern you'll find on Yarnspirations.com. This pattern is pretty easy to make, and the finished size is about 10.5 inches wide and 8 and about 1/3 of an inch tall, excluding these little hanging straps. To make this pattern, you'll need 3 balls of Peyton's Grace, 2 in your main color and 1 in a contrasting color, or you can just use 3 balls all the same color. You'll also need a USG 4mm crochet hook or whatever size you need to obtain gauge. You'll also want to have 4 buttons about 15mm across, some sewing thread, yarn needle, sewing needle, stitch markers, scissors, all your usual crochet supplies. Let's take a look at the Multi-Pocket Crochet Tote Organizer, how it's supposed to be used. The Multi-Pocket Crochet Tote Organizer is something that you can add to pretty much any tote bag to help make it just that much more practical. What you'll want to do is attach it to the inside of your tote bag so that you can use it like the pockets you would find inside a purse or other bag. You can see here there are 2 pockets created by a divider down the middle. That said, you can customize these pockets by putting multiple dividers in or putting them wherever you like, adjusting them for whatever you like to keep in your tote. After you've got it made, you can just slip it into your favorite tote bag. And then with these easy to adjust button straps, you can adjust the width of those straps as wide or as narrow as needed for your tote bag. Both sides come unbuttoned, so you can totally move them back and forth across the bag however you need. They are, as you can see, very well attached. There we go, which is of course what you want in your tote organizer. So you can move these to wherever you need them to be. And then when you've got it all set and centered, just wrap it right around the strap of your tote, button it right back into the organizer on both sides. And then inside your tote bag, once it gets all nicely hung in there, you can see you've got a great organizer with a couple of pockets to help you find everything in your tote instead of everything just falling straight to the bottom. So let's go over how to make your own Multi-Pocket Crochet Tote Organizer. Okay, as you can see, the Multi-Pocket Crochet Tote Organizer is actually made in 3 pieces. There's the organizer and then there's the 2 straps, all of which are made with pretty simple stitches. To make the organizer, which is the part you usually make first, you will start at this side and it's just a row of foundation double crochet, or you can work your row of double crochet into a chain, however you like to begin. Then we have several rows of plain double crochet. Then we work a row in the back loop only, which helps create this great line we'll be talking about here in a little bit. And then a couple more rows, and then we add our stripes. But again, this is all just rows of double crochet. Then you get up to the top, and with a little bit of finishing and seaming, and of course adding the divider for your pockets, 1 or 2, or however many you like, depending on what you like to store in your tote bag, then that part's all done. A couple simple rows here, really just 1 row worked in the round, and then a couple of buttons, and that's all there is to the straps. So let's go over the different stitches used in this organizer. Okay, so the first row of your Multi-Pocket Crochet Tote Organizer consists of 45 foundation double crochets. Here's how to begin a row of foundation double crochets. We're going to start with a chain of 2. Then I'm going to yarn over, and I'm going to go into that back hump on that first chain I made, the one furthest from my hook. So I'll just go right under that underneath loop of the chain there. Yarn over, pull up a loop. Now I have 3 loops on my hook. That first loop right there, the one I just made, that's going to be the chain at the bottom of our first foundation double crochet. So now we yarn over and pull a loop up through just that loop to begin our double crochet stitch. Then we yarn over and pull through 2 and yarn over and pull through 2, just as we normally make a double crochet. So now we've got our first double crochet made. There's the top, and right there is the little chain right on the bottom, all made at once. To make the subsequent foundation double crochets, you'll want to yarn over, go under the 2 loops there at the bottom of the previous one, the ones that acted as the chain, yarn over, pull that loop through, and now we've made the chain at the bottom of our second foundation double crochet. So from here, we yarn over, pull through just that loop to start the double crochet portion, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through 2. That's how we make the second, third, fourth, fifth, etc., all the way through to 45. So let's do that together one more time. We're going to yarn over, go under the 2 loops at the bottom of the previous stitch, yarn over again, pull that loop through. So now we've got 3 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through just the first loop. So now we've got the chain at the bottom of our stitch, yarn over and pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through 2. So that's how you make foundation double crochets. If you would prefer, you can simply chain 47, skip the first 2 chains closest to the hook, and double crochet in each remaining chain. Or you can do your row of double crochet however you like. Just make sure you have 45 double crochets at the end of row 1, and you'll be all set for row 2. Okay, so then rows 2 through 20 are all the same. You're just going to start with a chain of 3, which will count as your first double crochet, and then double crochet in each remaining stitch across, so that you still have 45 stitches in every row. Now, if you prefer, you can use a double crochet substitute instead of that chain 3, such as the chainless starting double crochet featured on Moogly, or any of the other chain 3 substitutes that you might like. Just make sure you get those 45 double crochets in each row and that you've made 20 rows. Okay, so looking again at the back of our organizer, you can see here is rows 1 through 20. It makes the back of the organizer. Now we're ready to begin the front with row 21. So to make row 21, it's going to be super similar to the previous 20 rows, but we want to work in the back loop only. So I'm going to go ahead and chain 3 for my first stitch here and turn. And then I am going to work into the back loop only of each stitch across, still making double crochets, just putting my hook somewhere a little different. Normally, when we crochet, we work under both of those top 2 loops of a stitch. You can see my hook is under both of those loops now. When you work under the back loop only, you only put your hook under the loop of that top V that is furthest from you, the crocheter. Back loop and front loop are always relative to you, the crocheter. So if you turn your project, which one's front and which one's back is going to flip. So, keeping your project facing you, as you've turned to work back across the row, you'll want to yarn over, there we go, and go under the back loop only of each remaining stitch across. Remember that first stitch, our chain 3 is going to count as our first stitch. So just the remaining ones go under the back loop only and pull up your loop and make your double crochet. So let's do that again. We'll yarn over, find the top of the next stitch, go under just that back loop with our hook, and finish our double crochet just as we normally would. Now I'm going to make a couple more of these here so you can see what the effect of this is. What this does is it leaves that front loop unworked. There we are. So you can see it creates a ridge there of unused loops that we're going to come back and work into later. It also effectively pushes this row of double crochets back, which is a great way to create the fold for the front of our organizer. So after you've finished row 21, working across in the back loop only, then you're just going to go back to regular double crochets. We're just going to change color a couple times for the stripes, but of course that's completely optional. So let's go over how to change colors if that is something you'd like to do. Okay, so when you're ready to switch colors, if that's something you've chosen to do, then the best way to do it is go ahead and cut your yarn. There we are. And you can go ahead and finish off that first color. And then you'll want to turn and you can bring up your new color. Let me find that end here. And then we're just going to go ahead and join to that very first stitch, just like so. Basically, put your hook in there, grab your new color, pull it through. You can make one little slip stitch there and give that a tug if you like to pull it down really nice and tight. And then go ahead and begin your row as you normally would. Chain 3 and just double crochet in each stitch across as directed. And you'll just continue making these double crochet rows through row 32. Then we'll be all ready to finish up our organizer. Okay, so after you've finished making your 32 rows of double crochet, then row 33 is just a row of half double crochet right across the top. Then, without breaking your yarn, you'll be able to assemble your organizer. This fold is right at row 21 where that back loop only double crochet row was made. So that's row 21 right there. So remember from our swatch how that really pushes that row forward? It's a natural folding point to create those pockets. So after you've folded that up, you still got your yarn attached right here from your half double crochets. So then you can very simply working through both layers. So you'll want to work through this striped layer and your back layer, and you'll single crochet evenly right along the sides. Then when you get down to this corner right here, you chain 2. See, let me pull that out right there. You can see that little chain 2 right there, and simply slip stitch across the unused loops that we left behind from row 21. Remember again, if we bring this up here, we have those unused front loops. We're going to come down the sides and then just slip stitch right in those unused loops right there at the bottom of each of those stitches. Then we chain 2 again, single crochet seam right up the other side, and we're all set. If you'd like to, you can continue adding some edging along here, but that part is completely optional. Then all you need to do is add the divider and create your button loops. To add the divider, it is simply a backstitch or surface crochet line. So let me go ahead, and I'm actually going to work a couple of those stitches on here in a contrasting color so you can see how that is done. Basically, wherever you want those pocket dividers to be, go ahead and insert your hook, and I like to start right here at the bottom. Pull up the color you want to make your divider with. Again, I probably wouldn't use green on this one, but it should show it a little bit easier here. I want to find my working strand. There we go. And then you're simply going to work your way as straight up those rows as you can. So find the next place wherever is in that line you want your hook to go. Grab that working yarn from underneath. It's always the tricky part. Make sure you've got the right one. There we are. And pull that loop up on through. There we go. The first few are always a little fiddly. Just take your time with it. Then head straight up some more wherever you want to go in for that next stitch. Stick it all the way through. You can see I'm going through both layers here. And then yarn over and pull that loop up on through to the front. And you're just going to continue that all the way up to the top of the pockets, again, in however many lines you like. If you don't like doing surface crochet like this, you can instead just use a yarn needle and sew those pockets down. However works for you is totally fine. Then we're ready for the button loops. Okay, so here are our button loops. And as I said, these have 15mm buttons. If you use a different yarn to make this, you may need to use different size buttons to fit in between those double crochet stitches of row 1. So again, be sure to make sure that your buttons are the right size for your yarn and that they fit nicely through your double crochet stitches, or rather between the posts of those stitches. So let's go ahead and make one of these together. We're going to start with a row of foundation half double crochets. Now, I'm going to show you how to do that here in a moment, but again, if you prefer to avoid the foundation stitch, you can work just a regular chain and half double crochet into it. You would chain 24, skip the chain closest to the hook, and work 23 half double crochets, 1 in each remaining chain. Again, as long as you've got 23 half double crochets at the end of this part here, then you'll be all set to continue. So here's how I like to make them with the foundation half double crochet. I've started with the slip knot on my hook, and from here I'm going to, again, chain 2. Looks a lot like the foundation double crochet so far. Now I'm going to yarn over, go into the furthest chain from my hook, again, right under that back loop, yarn over and pull up that loop. Again, 3 loops on my hook, and that very first one there, the one I've just made, will count as the bottom of the chain, or at the bottom of this first stitch. I'm going to yarn over and pull through just that stitch to start my stitch. Again, I've got 3 loops on my hook, but now instead of working them off in pairs, I'll just yarn over and pull through all 3, like we normally would for a half double crochet. So that's the first one. To make the remainders, it's the same technique we used for the foundation double crochet. We yarn over, go under those 2 loops at the bottom of the previous stitch, yarn over, pull up our loop, yarn over, pull through the first one. Now we've got our chain, and now we can simply yarn over and pull through all 3 to finish our half double crochet. So again, keep on working until you have 23 half double crochets made. So after you've got your 23 half double crochets made, as you can see here on the bottom of our first strap, we're just going to continue working on a round. So we're going to be working now into the bottom of those stitches. So what we want to do is go ahead and go into the bottom of that last one, just as we have been doing for our foundation half double crochets all along. But now we're not going to pull through once. We're just going to pull up our loop and then yarn over and finish our half double crochet like a normal half double crochet stitch. So there's the first one, and then we're going to do that right back into the bottom of that stitch again. So 2 half double crochets worked into the bottom of the last stitch. Then we're just going to half double crochet in the bottom of each remaining stitch across until we get to that very last one. So this is where, again, I really like having worked those foundation stitches, because when you crochet across the bottom of foundation stitches, you have a really lovely V there, nice and looking like basically like a regular stitch for you to work into. But if you worked into a chain, that works fine too. You might be going under just 1 loop or 2 is totally fine. Just continue to half double crochet across the bottoms of those previous stitches. And then we've got the last one right here. Of course, you've got more than me. I've just got a little swatch here. But when you get to that last one, go ahead and work 1 and then a second half double crochet in the bottom of that first stitch. Then all we need to do is join to the top of that first half double crochet we made with a slip stitch. Take your time here, get under those top 2 loops, yarn over, pull through, and you can finish it off and sew on your buttons. A quick note on sewing on those buttons. Of course, you'll want to make sure they're sewn on really tightly using your sewing needle and sewing thread. And if you didn't know, you can get Coats thread right here on Yarnspirations.com. And that's how to crochet the Multi-Pocket Crochet Tote Organizer featuring Peyton's Grace. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial and it helps you make your own tote organizer and get that little bit more organized in your own life. Thanks so much for watching and have a great crafty day.